Hello everyone and welcome back to our episode on Showcase with Elden Ring. Alright, time to stop fooling around, it's time for an awesome weapon. Well, what weapon will that be? Well, it's your two fists. Because you are a weapon. Don't let anybody tell you different. Today we'll be talking about the Caestus. I believe that's the proper pronunciation, but not just one, actually we're ignoring this one. We'll mainly be talking about its other version, the spiked Caestus. Because really, they are the exact same. No, really, they are, except spiked Caestus does 1 extra point of damage and causes bleed. But yeah. So, what is the Caestus? Really, it's just leather strapping. One with steel studs, and the other one with steel spikes. They both have the same skill, which is Endure. But yeah. Now, I'm not kidding, this is actually one of the best weapons in the game. At least in my opinion, and many others' opinion. Really, it's the fist, but other fist weapons will do just as well. It's the moveset. Now, going on to damage, we can see that between the two, I wasn't kidding, just 1 point difference. And I guess the basic Caestus is half a pound lighter. And the spectre requires two more points of dexterity, but it's really worth it for that bleed damage. This is a high DPS weapon. So yeah, it's not bad for physical. Scaling for both of them are D for strength and dexterity. As I mentioned, that bleed. To guard these, it's redundant. Don't do it. And you basically need almost no high-end attributes to even use it. So that's pretty damn good. Endure is there, which that's okay as a skill. I don't particularly like it, but it's there. So yes, I'll be only upgrading this one. I won't be bothering with the other one, because you saw the difference. It's redundant for me to do both, and really a waste of your time. But if you do want it, just think of the same damage, minus 2 points. Okay, let's talk about the Caestus as an item. So, what is a Caestus? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I don't care anymore. I'm going to keep calling it that. Well, Caestus is an old ancient term for ancient Greek boxing glove. Is there more to it? Yeah, there's other terminology for it, but that's what in this context it means. So, it's more likely very old, much older than that. Probably since we've learned how to tan leather, we probably used it to wrap our fists. When did that happen? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. When we put spikes on them, however, is a bit different. At least the documented case is in some gladiatorial fights, as a backup weapon for gladiators. At least that's the first documented case, arguably. So yeah, when they lose their main weapon, or they get disarmed, they still have a weapon to use, because gear is wrapped around their hand. Okay, and not to mention these weapons at the time did not really kill a main, but made a lot of blood for sport, which is important for that. Moving on from that, we can see the range of the weapons for the fist category, and we can see that the Caestus, among others, is at the lowest range possible. So yes, you have no range. This is the lowest range of any weapon. Makes sense, because it's just your fists. How could you get any shorter than that? Okay, let's go over some animations here. Starting us off, let's do some basic punching. Well, it's rapid, it's quick, and I should also mention I'm using these weapons as intended with both hands. You could use it with just one hand, but you'll see that the moveset will be stunted then. So yeah, your character kind of flails around a whole bunch, but the power attack, as we see, is a bit more methodical and very much gut punching. Alright, and you can guard these weapons, but it's just a really bad idea. And no, you cannot parry naturally. You have to have the ability parry. And of course you also have the ability endure as well. Okay, so crouching. I'm going to use one-handed, as you can see. It's one-handed strikes are stunted. It's better with two-handed. But anyway, crouching, we're going to do, you see a fierce uppercut. Pretty nice. Crouching doesn't exist. Crouching power attack, I mean. The rolling attack, which again is the same as the crouching one, so it's to punch and uppercut. And you have the sprinting attack, which is a sucker two punch. Big is proper terminology, and you see that the sprinting power attack, I'm not sure what to call that, a spinning backhand? And when you get the jumping attack, it looks silly as you flail both arms to the side. And for the power attack, it makes more sense as you bring both your fists down. So yeah, bit of a strange moveset, but it's there. Oh yes, the backstep attack. Sort of like the jumping attack. Now, to say something is useless is an understatement when you ride a horse and try to punch someone. Really, as you can see, it doesn't matter if you wear the Caestus or not, it's the same moveset. It's silly. You would literally have anything else be better range and better suited for horseback in reality. But could you actually use this? Well, yes, you can hold the power attack and draw your attack, and yes, you can hit stuff. Without too terribly much issues? Sure, there's range, but it can be done. Alright, so where do you find a spiked Caestus? Well, at the northern end of Caelid, you'll find this merchant here, and he'll sell to you. Really, you can get the other one from the first merchant, but why would you? You get this one instead. Anyhow, here are the upgrades, and I'll be using the quality one. And I'll see you guys back when all these upgrades are done. Okay, so we can see the damage can get pretty crazy. Though, that said, it really depends on bleeding and DPS. As you see, even a backstab doesn't actually defeat an opponent. But getting point blank and quick, you can see that's a lot of damage very quickly. Though you have to be careful, especially when not wearing armor. You have no range. That is the big drawback to the weapon. So fight properly and not charge. Because you shouldn't charge anyway. You gotta properly dodge your opponent, like any other proper attack, but you want to get into their blind spot. Basically, don't give your opponent the opportunity to attack, or B, dodge their attack every time. That is really your two options, and that's usually the case for a lot of weapons, but sometimes, especially in the case for spears, you can outreach your opponents. Where, of course, fists, you don't have this option. Alright, if you ignore the arrow stuck in my head, we'll continue. But as we can see, the incredible amount of damage you're doing rapidly, that I'm killing all of these opponents without even causing bleed damage. So, let's take a look here. Can I kill a Clean Rot Knight? Let's do a little sneak attack, as they have not been procced yet. And as you can see with the backstab, not really impressive. But as soon as I get out of that, you can see I rapidly slaughter them. So yeah, I wasn't kidding, one of the strongest weapons in the game. Let's emphasize that point with the latter end of this fight. As I do a lot of running, as you can see that thing's quite deadly. It didn't matter if I wore armor or not, it's Scarlet Rot. But yes, anything that bleeds and is rather big and slow is pretty much easy bait for this weapon. And really any melee fist graded weapon you can cause with bleed damage. Now that said, you could use the bleed augment as well with this, but I find it to be redundant. Just use quality to get that extra bit of damage out. In my opinion, that's the better way to go. Now, I'll start including at least these mock fights to at least simulate a person fighting, since it's hard for me to get footage with my level. Okay, yeah, I can do a lot of damage really quickly, but having 0 range kinda sucks. That's the really big downside. Of course, the actual opponent wouldn't, let himself be open like that. But you get the idea. I can easily be thwarted by a ranged weapon. Now let's talk about some pros and cons. Well, on the pros, it is an incredibly high DPS weapon, one of the highest. It is also fairly cheap and easy to get. It has very low stat requirements, and it has the built-in bleed damage, for the spiked version anyway. That's sort of it though. On the cons, well, it is the shortest range in the game. That's the biggest con. Second con, I like to mention that it does kind of demand you use both your hands. So no shield, no catalyst in the other hand to use properly to get that proper DPS. So yeah, and those are the only 2 real cons in my opinion. Going on to score, damage, well, I'm going to give that A+. This thing's incredible DPS and bleed is amazing. Reach, well, that's where this thing falls short. It's an F. It is the shortest reach. Animations are fairly solid, I'll give that a B, as they're quite varied. Scaling was also pretty good, and I'll also give that a B, as it's almost in every case surpassed the base damage. Miscellaneous, I'm going to give that a C, because of course you need both hands to wield it. It's kind of a issue for a lot of people. But in total, I say the Caestus spiked version anyway gets a B-. And that's not bad at all. So yeah. So what we learned, your fists are your weapon, and by that extension, you are the weapon. Don't let anyone tell you any different. Anyway, thanks for watching, and do take care out there.